Today we're going to talk about private adoptions. This is this is actually part 3 of a 6-part series that we're doing. And I'm Stephanie A, and this is all about adoption. So let's get started. So a private adoption is what I like to lovingly call a DIY adoption. You also will hear it called self-networking and independent adoption. You'll hear it called all kinds of different things, but it's all the same thing. You basically are going to be doing the adoption process for the most part on your own. You're cutting out the middleman. And so let's talk more about what that is. So with a private adoption, you basically are doing your own self-networking, self-advertising, self-marketing, and just trying to put yourself out there to find an expecting mom on your own. And you're cutting out the agency part of it. So you're doing this on your own. And so let's talk about what this means. So when doing a private adoption, basically you don't have a lot of restrictions. There aren't agency policies or procedures. It basically just boils down to what that state is requiring. So the age to be able to adopt typically is over the age of 18, but I'm going to say you're not probably going to find an agency who'll do a home study on an 18-year-old normally. So normally agencies will start doing home studies between the ages of 21 and 25. Residents, you can pretty much be anywhere in the United States and be able to adopt privately. Now, there are some states who won't allow you to advertise for an expecting mom in that state. And there are some resources that I'm going to link to below that will help you with all the different pieces and parts that you would need for a private adoption. So once again, this comes back to state policies and actually state requirements in terms of marriage. Normally, you don't have to be married to be able to adopt. And typically, when doing a private adoption, there aren't marriage requirements. Now, you may run into problems with regards to marriage requirements from the agency that's doing your home study, but in terms of being able to do the adoption process, there is usually not a requirement on length of marriage. Financial stability, you just basically have to be able to show that you have enough money to be able to afford to be able to raise a child. So normally you can go out to the government website that shows you what the minimum income needs to be for the household members that you have in your home, and that will help you determine whether you would probably even be approved to adopt through the home study process. Medical history, there usually is not a requirement on this because once again, you don't have agency policies and procedures that you're having to deal with. As long as you can basically show you have a normal life expectancy from a physician, you'll be good to go. Prior criminal history, there's probably a little more flexibility with prior arrest in your history because once again, this comes down to state law on what they allow. So you'll want to, once you do get a match with an expecting mom, you'll really want to dig into that state's laws, and you can save yourself some steps by just hiring an adoption attorney who's licensed in that state, and they can tell you whether any past criminal history will be an issue for you or not in that state. The age of the children typically are going to be newborn. Normally when you're self-marketing yourself, you're going to get matched with a woman who is expecting and is pregnant and considering adoption. Gender and race, you can be as open or as specific as you want to be on this. The one thing with private adoptions is in doing your own self-networking is that normally when you work with an agency, you'll set preferences and they'll only show you to expecting moms who fall within those preferences. When you do your self-networking, generally you don't have that kind of restriction on what expecting moms you're shown to. So you may find that you find an expecting mom who is carrying a child who is of a certain race that you're not comfortable adopting. So you may find that it's a little harder in terms of getting matched with the right mom because she may have factors that fall outside what you're comfortable with, and you also may have factors that fall outside what she's comfortable with. So it takes a little more screening process to be done when doing a private adoption on your own. Open adoption. Yeah, you betcha. You're finding your own expecting mom. you're developing your own relationship with her, and you'll have communication hopefully with her following placement as well. So since you're doing your own self-networking, and you're going to get matched directly with a mom, and so that's going to be pretty much an open adoption. Travel, probably yes, because I'm going to say 99% of the time you're going to find an expecting mom who doesn't happen to be in the same state as you, although this could factor in where you choose to do your advertising. But I'm going to say, or even if you get matched with an expecting mom within your state, there's nothing saying she's not clear on the other side of the state from you. So I would anticipate that there would be travel, and you should plan for that when doing a private adoption. Processing time, that's unknown. We don't know how long it's going to take. It's being in the right place at the right time for the right mama to find you. Typical cost is going to be around $10,000 to $16,000. You are still going to have, even though you're doing your own self-networking, which costs money to do your own self-networking, to do your advertising, you also will need an adoption attorney to help you finalize your adoption. And of course, you also need to have a home study and post-adoption reports as well. So you do have cost, but you're only paying for the essential items that you need in the adoption process versus paying an agency for an agency fee, for example. So most of the majority of private adoptions, actually most adoptions happen privately. So this is a large sector of how adoptions actually end up occurring. Surprise to most families that that's true. It's because it's not only your own self-networking and advertising, but it's also just friends of yours. Someone knows someone whose next door neighbor's best friend's niece is pregnant. That's how random it is. So letting people know you want to adopt, family, friends, coworkers, you could get simply matched just through your own self, your own inner circle. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, going out on the web and advertising and having a Facebook page and things like that. It could be just something as simple as letting people know in your inner circle that you're wanting to adopt, and just finding a situation in that way as well. So I hope you found this helpful. Next, we're going to talk about embryo adoptions. So I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks. Bye.